Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever and whenever you are listening or watching this podcast episode. Today is another Q&A episode. Got a great question here. Would it be better to take lecithin, which converts to choline, or just go straight to choline? Well, it depends. I've used that so many times. It really does. It depends. If your goal is strictly just choline consumption, like I want to get as much choline like through a supplement as I possibly can, then a choline supplement is probably going to be the best way. To explain that further, let's say you have 1,000 milligram capsule of lecithin. Like you will find like a supplement, usually it's going to be soy lecithin. So just give you all a little bit of information here. Your choline supplements, so like choline bitartrate, alpha GPC, the choline from that is from soy lecithin most of the time because I guess it's abundant and it's cheaper to do that. That's my assumption. So just wanted to add a little information there. But let's say you have 1,000 milligram capsule of soy lecithin, let's say. Based on my knowledge, the amount of choline in lecithin is about 3 to 4%. So if my math is right, the hangover, when he's trying to count cards and everything, that's what, 30 to 40 milligrams of choline. So out of 1,000 milligrams, it's not too much choline. All right. But if you were to take 1,000 milligrams of choline bitartrate, which is a tartrate salt form of choline, then you're getting what? I think it's 40% choline by weight, so you're getting about 400 milligrams of choline. So for the same amount, milligram-wise, you're getting much more choline with the choline bitartrate than you are with the lecithin. However, and I'll pop up a picture of the article here. I was reading through this article. Now, unfortunately, the references used in the article are behind a paywall, and I'm not part of a educational institution or anything like that. So I don't have access to read more into the details. Have to kind of dig further and further down and use any free resources I can to try to find out the information. However, going back to the point of the article is that when you have phosphatidylcholine, right, was compared to an inorganic choline salt. So an inorganic choline salt, an example of that would be choline chloride, all right, which is often used like in hospital settings for people with like liver disease, etc. You usually give an infusion of choline, and choline chloride can be used. But when you compare the two, phosphatidylcholine and choline chloride, like an inorganic choline salt, well, phosphatidylcholine raises plasma levels of choline, which is essentially like the amount in blood. It raises it higher than the inorganic salt form, and the choline levels stay higher longer than the inorganic salt form. So keep that in mind that if you're taking a choline salt, then as compared to like taking lecithin, for example, or as in this case, they use phosphatidylcholine, which again is sometimes interchangeably used with lecithin in terms of terminology, that you may not be getting a big bump in the amount of choline in the blood with the choline salt as you would with the phosphatidylcholine. Also, it was referenced in there that the inorganic salt raised TMA levels more than the phosphatidylcholine. Now, TMA, trimethylamine, is essentially what happens when the choline reaches the large intestines and then bacteria feed on the choline, and then you end up with trimethylamine, which is actually part of the choline molecule. And then too much of that can give people like a fishy odor. I believe it's actually called fish odor syndrome, I think is what it's called, where people have genetic disorders where they get this high amount of trimethylamine, and then their body literally smells like fish. I mean, so you go to your grocery store and you walk by the fish department and you oh man, it smells like fish, like that kind of fishy smell, for lack of that's the only way I can describe it, fishy smell. That is trimethylamine that you're smelling there. So people actually can smell like that. So the point is that's something else to keep in mind. So off of that, I would say, well, if you're taking choline supplement for nootropic purposes or as a pre-workout, which I don't have it with me, but I pop a picture up here. I used to sell S&B pre-workout. That was a pre-workout I designed, which, by the way, if anybody's interested, hit me up. I have bottles that I'm giving away for free, so I can send you one. No charge. And no secret offers, or you have to pay for shipping and handling, everything like that. No. All I ask is that you tell me what you think about it, and you tell your friends about it for advertising for the future. But that had alpha GPC in it, which is a form of choline. If you're using it for that purpose, so you're taking it as a pre-workout and you're going to need that choline in like 30 minutes, or you're taking it as a nootropic like before an exam and you're going to need it pretty fast, well then yeah, a choline supplement is going to be great for that performance enhancement because you need it to get into the blood fast. And that's what was discussed in that study, was that the inorganic choline salt entered the plasma, into the bloodstream rapidly, okay, because it's an inorganic salt. That's the whole purpose of in that case, a choline salt, is that it improves digestion. It digests and the body breaks it down very fast. But again, didn't have access to the resources, so I kind of had to dig down and find any resource I could. It's believed that the phosphatidylcholine, right, it raises the blood levels of choline higher and keeps it there much longer because of the fatty acids. It takes longer to break it down. You may have like pancreatic enzymes that have to break off the fatty acids, etc. And so it's longer, so it digests slower, so the body through the small intestines can take in more and more of that choline. All right. So that's something to keep in mind, that if you're going to be using like lecithin, for example, or phosphatidylcholine, aka lecithin, depending on your resource you go to, then that may be good for like general health, like to make sure you're getting enough choline in your diet. Okay. Now, final thoughts on this. I'm going to conclude here. I've mentioned it before. I am a big believer in getting nutrients primarily through food sources first. All right. If for whatever reason there's a medical condition that you have, for religious reasons or moral reasons, then you have to limit what foods you eat. And those foods may include foods that are high in choline. Then, after discussing it with a medical professional, all right, don't just take my word for it, always consult your doctor. Then I could see where supplemental choline can come into play. Or you're looking like for a performance enhancement, like again, you're taking it for a pre-workout or for a nootropic for a particular event or a particular weightlifting session or something like that. But getting it from food sources first, choline is high in liver. I think that's like the highest source, liver, which I love liver. Remember that from a kid, liver and onions. It's meat. Eggs is another great source. What is that? I believe for non-animal or vegan sources or plant-based sources, whatever it is what is it? I believe it's like wheat, beans. I'll put some lists up here in case my memory is failing me on that. But so there are vegan or plant-based and non-plant-based sources. I don't want to say vegan because people are vegetarians and they're not vegans necessarily, but plant-based sources and non-plant-based sources of choline. But what is the choline in the form of? Lecithin. So Mother Nature is already telling us, eat your lecithin. So that's it, folks. That's all I can think of. All right. In my empty head here, the information's gone, never to be seen again. But thank you so very much for your question. Again, you had a second question on here that requires a more in-depth response. So I'll make a separate video for that. Again, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.